Now, there are a lot of photographers out there that will be very quick to share their opinion about which focal length is correct to use in certain situations. And I just want to address that by saying that even though these focal lengths have very different characteristics, there are no rules about which focal length you should use in any given situation. Photography is simply art and expression, and your only job as a photographer is to communicate the idea or the story of an image with the equipment at your disposal. If a certain lens helps you to create a feeling or emotion through a photo, then it can never really be a wrong choice. Focal lengths can also be used in a more broad sense, not just relating to one individual image, but to your work as a whole. I have a photographer friend, Carlo, who pretty much exclusively shoots on a 24mm 1.4 lens. I personally think his work is amazing, and he's created this aesthetic and style around only using one lens. One of my biggest goals as a photographer is for people to identify my work without even having to see my name written on it. It shows that you are unique and memorable, and your photos have a consistent personality about them. Personally, I own a range of different prime focal lengths for different applications, but if I had to choose one, it would be the 35mm. I've touched on this in other videos, but I really like the aesthetic and the images that it can provide, and on top of that, it's a very versatile focal length. One thing that I actually enjoy doing, and I've been doing a lot of lately, is using unconventional focal lengths for different applications. So for example, using like a 16mm or a 24mm for shooting portraits, as it's most common that people would use like a much closer focal length like 50 or 85, and using something like a 100mm lens for shooting landscapes. It definitely forces you to be more creative and think outside the box when it comes to your framing and composition. So let me know down in the comment section below, what is your favorite focal length and why does it work for your style of photography? I'd love to hear from you guys. That's it for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, please leave a like down below and feel free to check out any of the other videos on this channel. No doubt there are other prime lenses outside of the ones that I've chosen for this video, but I think these are the most popular focal lengths, and also they're just the ones that I own at the moment. So we have a 24, 35, 50, and 85, and I'll be showing examples of the shots taken with each lens throughout the video to help you see the difference in the perspective that they offer. I'll start with the 24mm. This is considered a wide-angle lens since it takes in a little more of the scene than the human eye naturally does. So for that reason, this lens does have a little bit of an unnatural sort of look to it. It's a focal length that most mid-range zooms will start at. This lens has the most perspective distortion, so objects that are closer to the lens in the image seem much larger than objects that are further away. Next up, the 35mm. This is my favorite prime focal length. It is a bit closer to what the human eye sees naturally. Arguably, it is closer than the 50mm focal length, but I find that what this lens has most of all is versatility. It can get great wide angles, but also you can take a few steps forward and get really nice close-up images. The 50mm is often called a standard lens because a lot of people perceive it as the most natural looking focal length. It has a low amount of perspective distortion, which means that objects that are closer to the lens in the image don't generally seem drastically bigger to those that are further away, like on a 24mm lens. You'll also notice the ability to get a much blurrier background with this lens than the 24 and 35mm lenses. The 85mm